Hello everyone, welcome back to Imperfect Chess Videos. My name is Sean, and today we're going to take a look at using the ChessBase 12 training functionality to train or allow us to practice our opening books, our opening repertoires, using ChessBase 12 to quiz us on maybe some of the key positions that we're going to call out. So we're going to use today the training features and see how we can use that to improve our overall game, and specifically using the opening repertoires that we've designed and some of the items I showed you in the previous videos. Now, what I've got open here in my first database here, this is a repertoire database, which means instead of having games, it has lines, and you can see I've got 13 lines down there. And what I've also done is I don't like to put the training annotations inside my pristine opening repertoire database. I don't like that. You'll see why later. But for now, trust me, I like to do things differently. And like all the videos I make, this isn't the only way to do the things I'm showing you. It's just how I do it. So there are probably a bunch of different ways and many better ways of doing training and opening repertoires. But this is the way I do it, and I just want to make sure that's clear. So the way I do it is I set up a second database. This is a training database I'm going to set up. This one is brand new. It's got no games in it. I'll go down to properties. I'll even call it training so I don't get confused. And there's a training database. That's the one I'm going to use to train me to make sure that I learn the opening repertoires that I design or pick or choose, or however you want to come along the way. So this is what we'll do. Let's go back to my database here, and I've got a game here, or excuse me, a line here, and there's a repertoire that I've set up based on my research and things. And if you want to take a quick look, you're going to notice that throughout here I've got these arrows. These arrows and designs, the green arrow and the red arrow, I put in order for teaching or for learning and for showing other people. And it's something that you might want to use for your training as well. Now, just in case you don't know, in order to do a line, you can just take the Alt key and left click and draw, and you can see what I just drew as a green arrow with the Alt key. If I hold down Alt and Control and drag and drop, I get a yellow arrow, and if I do it again, it'll disappear. And if I do Control Alt Shift, I make a red arrow. And so things to remember, you can put that anywhere. That doesn't have to do anything to do with training. You can put that anywhere in your notation within ChessBase. But remember that, because we're going to use that for some of our training. So let's say we wanted to build some training around this one line here. I want this line. I've built this as a white repertoire. I have one move for white and multiple responses for black, and I want to be able to have the training test me on the various black responses and how I might go with white. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not saving that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this line here and I'm going to drag and drop her into my training opening repertoire. There it is. So I have one line in there. Now I've separated the two. I can play around with this and add my training and do whatever I want to do, and I'm not going to corrupt my pristine, white playbook over there. So let's double this in, and here's how. Let me just show you very quickly how training works if you've never seen it. But when you want the engine or the program to quiz you on a position, you need to pick exactly the position you want it to quiz you on, and then the move that you want the person to choose, like the question you want. So in this case, I'm going to be training myself later. What move do I want the program to prompt me for? So I'm going to be using this to train positions playing from white. So I'm going to actually pick a white move. So after we go queen f3, and then here the king comes down to e6, and then the next move, according to the playbook which I've chosen earlier, I've done my research and I want the move knight c3. Let's hope I can remember this. Or maybe I'm teaching somebody else my opening and I want them to remember this. What we can just do is we put on the move itself, in this case knight c3, we'll go to training, and we'll hit training annotation. And we have this nice little window open up. Now, you can just click OK, and you're going to get enough in order to play with training. You don't have to actually change anything in order to really get some good functionality going. But let me dive in just a little bit more. You can ask a question. When we're going to be trained on this later, we might want to ask a specific question around this. I could leave it blank and just say, what is the next move? But maybe I want a custom question. So I might say here, in this case, in preparation, excuse me, for this move, we might say the black king has moved to e6 to support the knight on d5. What is the planned white response? So I add a little context there. Now, we can see that I have options of either making it a multiple choice for myself if I'd like, or to just go ahead and make an input move. And in this case, what we'll do is I'm just going to leave it for input. Basically, that says, white, what do you think? Pick anything and do what you'd like to do. The move we have down here was pulled directly from my notation, and that's knight c3. So it knows that's the correct move. And if I'd like, I can make a default message if somebody does a move that's not appropriate or not correct. So I'll click on default wrong, and I'll say, rather than that's the incorrect move or something, I want a custom move, I'll say, that is not in our playbook. So what I'm making a comment here is maybe it's a good move or even a better move, but that's not the one we're looking for. So that's the message that's going to happen anytime someone picks anything that is not knight c3. There's going to be 300 seconds to make the decision, configurable. You can keep a score, 10 points in this case if you get the question right, so we'll say 10 points. And here's something neat as well. If you'd like, you can have a prepared response for some of the moves. Feedback, for example, would be the response to say if someone picks knight c3, other than the generic correct. So I might say something like, good work, that is the playbook move, or something. It's actually a lousy sentence. I would do a better one, but you can see it there. Now, maybe there's an incorrect move. Now, for me, because we're practicing my opening repertoire, there's only really one right move, because I'm training, in theory, I'm practicing a repertoire that I've built. But you could, if you would like, to put down some other moves that are just as correct, and you can make the score the same. Or you can make them partially correct. Maybe you think it's an okay move, not the best. If you really are doing proper training and tactics and getting into it, you can have a whole series of moves with different values on their correctness. But for me, I'm black and white, pardon the pun. I either want it to be correct or it's not my playbook move, so that's how I'm building it. That doesn't mean that I don't want to prepare for some other moves. Maybe I'm preparing this training for somebody who's new, maybe my son. And I think, you know what? It's very tempting to go over here and take this knight over here with the queen, because well, the other queen is, you're protected with the bishop. You might forget that the knight's actually protected twice. Maybe I think in this particular case with this new player, they might think that's a good move. And so I might want a custom message for them on why that's not a good move. Let me show you an example. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to add in the queen takes d5. And I'm going to click new. And so now I have this new move. Its score is 0. They're not going to get any points for that, 0. And I would like there to be specific feedback. So you can see that there's a little star for feedback for knight c3. We made that plan, good work, the playback move. Well, there is no specific feedback for queen takes d5. Right now they're going to get the default wrong. They would get a message saying that is not in our playbook. Well, I want something special for this, because I think I can see why they might be doing it in this case. So I'm going to click on feedback here, and if they do that move, what I want them to see is I'm going to remember that trick with the arrows. I'm going to take Control Alt Shift and draw a red arrow there and a red arrow there to show that there are two pieces protecting that knight, and so that's not a good move. And I might say here, remember, I might want to spell it correctly too, remember, the knight is protected twice. This is not the, something like that, not the playbook move or whatever. But so there's my little feedback on why that's not a good answer. And there we are. So we have prepared one move for knight c3. And now that's just one question. And you don't have to do all of that. You could just have clicked training annotation and just gone with the defaults. But I kind of wanted to show what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to go save, and I'm going to replace that line, and it's all replaced inside my training database. And I want to try it out. Let's click enable training. You can see that the actual response now has all disappeared. So anyone playing this, or if I'm playing this, I'm not gonna, before I start it up, I'm not gonna look at it and go, oh, I see the answer already. It's hidden from me. Everything after king e6 is hidden. And I'll close this up. And if I, because enable training was checked, if I double click on this now, it jumps right to the training question. There's my 300 seconds has started, and I'm in this position. I can kind of see where it came to, and here's my little point. The black king has moved to e6 to support. All right, so I can see my time is coming down, and see it's 10 points if I get this right. 0 out of 10. I don't normally care about the points too much, and I need to decide what is it I'm going to do. Now let's pick a silly move. Let's say I decide to do that, and boom, there's my default wrong. That is not in our playbook, and I got 0 out of 10. Now, if I'd like, I can click try again. I'm not going to get any points now. The points are only if you get it right the first time, and you can't, as far as I know, change that. I don't worry about the points too much. Oh, what if I'm very excited, I'm a new player, and I think, oh, I've got 2 pieces attacking the knight here, let's do this. And there's our reminder. We've got the 2 arrows, and we've got, remember, the knight is protected twice. Oh, that's not the right move, I might say. So I'll try again. In this case, let me bring up knight to c3. Good work. That is the playbook move. I don't get points because I got it wrong twice beforehand, but there we are. And that's all we're going to do. I could load next game, and there's no actual anything for me to check. And you can see the little stars here. They're red. That means the first time I answered this, I got it wrong. So that's kind of cool. It might be a little bit of work to go through and be that personalized for each one, but maybe you want to make a little ebook because you can convert these to ebooks, or maybe you want to make a nice programming course for yourself for later, and it might be educational to go through and do all that. Now what's interesting is I need to be ready though, because black doesn't always do king e6. Sometimes black might do king g8, in which case my appropriate response would be bishop takes d5. So if I go over your training, I'm going to check this off for the moment. Bishop d5, let's go training annotation. I'm just going to click OK and get the default. And what if, in fact, what black does here, you can see most of the responses are a takes b5, but just for the moment, what if black goes king e7? I want to do training annotation. So now I have 3 different things for me, 3 different responses. It so happens 2 of them are the same, but for our purposes here, 3 different black responses and then corresponding white responses. So let me just save and replace. And actually I do. I'm going to check this off again because I want to test it. I'll do that, and I will close this down. Now if I double click, what's it going to do? Because it has 3 options. Well, it goes to the first one and says king g8. What do you want to do? Well, I'll do that. Correct. You entered the strongest move. Okay. Next question. Please enter a move for white. And you see what it did is it just jumped down to the next question within this line, which is okay if you want to go through all the variations within your line. That's the right move. But I would like to go through the full line to the end and maybe not know what the black response is going to be. I would like the computer to pick one of the black responses, and then I have to think, okay, what is the white response? I'd like that option. It might be worth it to also have this with all the different options together, and you can go through your entire line at once. But what I would like to do is almost simulate a game where you go through and you pick your moves as white, and then the computer picks which black response you're going to do, and then you need to go, okay, well, that's the one I go, and then you go down that line. And then I can, as many down that line, I can go as many training annotations as I would like. There's no default way to do it, but I've found a way, or I've come across a way. Here's how I do it in the background. Let me show you what I mean. This is what I would like to show you before we leave. So I'm going to close this off, and actually, what I'll do is I'll open it up. No, close it off. That's right. I came here for a reason. Here's the trick. Go to your training database, right-click Properties, and temporarily make it a repertoire database. Temporarily. All right? We're going to change that back. Don't forget, we need to change that back. Come on back into here now, and let's stop that. Let's take off the enable training. I want to see it all. Let's take this line here, right-click it, and let's add to repertoire, because we just made the training database to repertoire database. We're adding it back to this repertoire database. but we're going to make it as a new line, a separate line. Boom. Okay? And then what I'm going to do here in the training database, and this is why I want this separate from my original training base, this is what we're going to do is we're going to just delete this here. Let's just delete that variation. We're going to go to this variation, right click, add to repertoire, save as a new game. Boom, boom, and I'm going to delete that variation. Now, when I come over here and I go save, replace, and everything's saved, I'm going to go enable training just for a minute, close it off. I now have 3 different training lines in my training database. 3 different ones. As a matter of fact, I'm going to come back here, I'm going to take the repertoire off, and I'm going to come up to training here, and you can see it's remembered how well I've done overall. I'm going to reset that database, and I'm going to say random training. What this does is when I open up that training database next, it's going to pick one of these 3 lines to quiz me on, and then I won't know what to expect. And that's, for me, a pretty cool feature. So let's try it out. Now, is it going to work right away? It does. So right away it goes through and it's picked one of the lines, and it's, all right, what's the next move for white? So now I need to look through and go down, and in this case it happens to be that, and I got my 10 points, and the game is done. And what I'll do is go through. It'll go into the next game if you want to keep going through all the games. But what it's now done is it's got a situation where you can go through, you can keep hitting next, it'll go through them all. But if you just want to do one, you can pick any one of these. Even if I open this off and take this off and just take the training off for a moment, I can go through and say, okay, well, bang, let's make that training annotation, and then bang, let's make that training annotation. So now when I go through this particular line, if I file and replace, that's 4NG. Here it is. When we open it up, when it chooses this line here, I can go through and correct strongest move, go to the next question, and it goes and it plays the next move for me, and I can say, okay, what's my next move? Boom. Nope, and that was wrong. Illegal move. Drag and drop, and go to the next, and then boom. And then what I'm doing is it's almost like you're simulating a game. And I can click the next game or just continue on, and I see how that one's done. So by having this this program with the random training, you can build out each of these lines, and if you have a fork where it goes in 2 or 3 different directions, you can just use that add to repertoire feature to keep building out lines here, and then you're going to have a ton of different training exercises that almost simulate various types of games and responses you're going to get from your opponents. And you can obviously you just focus on those areas where you want to train or you want it to go down. And I think it's a powerful feature, and it's something that's I think is really exciting. And it's also there's the ability to take that and convert that into an ebook that you could read on a Kindle or something like that as well, which is something maybe we'll deal with another day. But there we go. I hope you found that as cool as I find it. I think it's fantastic, and it's something I like to do to train myself to make sure that not only do I build my repertoires, but I can actually learn them as well. And I hope you enjoy that. If you enjoy these videos, please, by all means, click on the button and subscribe. We've got a lot more coming. And as always, reminder, I have slowly building my repertoire for club players bit by bit, and I've published the first section based on the 2 Knights defense, and you can click on the link there and go see my site and maybe pick the book up from Lulu or Amazon. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Have a great day. Cheers.